Hi, everyone. I'm Alex from TIAA Divest, and we're really happy to have you here on the live stream for today. So in terms of what we're going to be live streaming, there are 3 actions going on. And first, we're going to live stream from the TIAA street rally from New York City, Broadway and 108th at the TIAA street location. Next, we'll be live streaming from a student-led action at Ithaca Commons in Ithaca, New York. And lastly, we'll feature a live stream action from the Stop the Money Pipeline Coalition rally at BlackRock in Midtown New York City. You should expect to see different segments with videos, information slides, speakers, and other live coverage from New York City and Ithaca. And I also wanted to just do a brief introduction for myself. My name is Alex. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a student leader at the TIAA Divest campaign. I'm currently a senior at SUNY New Paltz, and I'm studying political science and environmental studies. And I'm really excited to be here today to help host the live stream. In terms of, I want to also introduce a little bit about the campaign. So in terms of the TIAA Divest campaign, TIAA is the Teachers Insurance and Annuity Association, which offers educators, art workers, scholars, and other financial security for retirement benefits. And today we're here to come together to empower students, educators, activists to come together to express demands from TIAA and to publicly share and denounce their environmental and human harm that they're posing towards the environment. Some of our demands include divesting from fossil fuels and investments in fossil fuel companies. We hope to implement a no deforestation policy, and we hope to demand from TIAA that they stop land grabs and the harm that they're posing towards Indigenous communities and how they are increasing environmental degradation. And I also just want to point out that the TIAA Divest action today is related and connected to the Stop the Money Pipeline Coalition rally at BlackRock. And we stand with the Stop the Money Pipeline Coalition rally to defund and end Line 3. And in addition, I'm really happy to also present several of the recent developments that the TIAA Divest campaign has had. Recently, we've been able to pass several faculty and faculty senate resolutions that have happened from across universities and campuses alike. We've had many professors stand up to TIAA, and we've passed several resolutions in the past since December. So we're really excited to see that the divestment movement is really progressing in a very positive way. In addition, I'm happy to say that we also are really excited to see that the live stream is happening on our Facebook. On our Facebook page, which I help run, we post insightful news articles, clips, major TIAA Divest related news, and also other important topics related to divestment, environmental justice, health, and other climate news. So if you want to stay connected, you're welcome to join the Facebook page where you can get updated with TIAA Divest news and also news related to climate and climate justice in general. In addition, I'm happy to say that we also have a website, and later today, I'm hoping that we can get to talk more about a potential student network. As a student on the campaign, I'm really happy to say that there are great coalitions that are being built between, climate activists and professors and students, all coming together to stand up to climate justice and also to stand up against financial companies that are doing serious harm to communities and to the environment. So, yes. And in addition, I'm really happy to say that if you would like to share news regarding TIAA Divest and also to the rallies today, you're welcome to use the hashtag TIAA Divest and also defund Line 3. And also, let's see, in terms of we also have a website that you are welcome to check out. Our TIAA website is TIAA-divest.org, where we post TIAA Divest TIAA Divest related news, general information about the campaign, and also just specifics on what actions TIAA Divest is doing. So now we're going to show some live footage from New York City at the TIAA location on 108th and Broadway. And Susan Van Dolsen, who's a TIAA Divest organizer, is going to be showing us the footage. So thank you, Susan.
All right, so here we are at 108th and Broadway, and we're in front of TIAA's storefront, and I think we're going to start speaking in a moment. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Come down and round. Bill. Our speakers, our opening speaker is busy flyering. Bill, you're up. I'll do the flyer. So stand over here so we have.
Oh, I'm going to speak. That's what all right. Where's the speaker's corner here?
Okay.
Okay, everybody. Social distance, please. So I've been asked to say a little bit about why we're here, and I guess I'll start by saying why I'm here. About 3 years ago, I found out that TIAA was responsible for building a frack gas powered power plant in my town, which is about 2 hours north of where we are right now at TIAA headquarters. Ooh. Who is right? And I was part of a group that tried to shut down that plant. We protested at that plant. A bunch of us were arrested. The plant's still in operation, and TIAA is still making money off that plant. Whoa. So we wanted to know, why is the retirement funds from professors, cultural workers, doctors and researchers going into building power plants, building pipelines, fossil fuel extraction, deforestation, and land grabs from poor farmers? And we've decided to create this organization, TIAA Divest, to make those demands of TIAA. We want them to divest, sell all of their ownership of the power plants, the pipelines, the deforestation risks, and also the lands that they've stolen from people in the global south. Those are our demands. We're asking TIAA to talk to us. We tried to talk to them and they haven't responded. And we want college professors, college staff, and anybody else who's interested in trying to keep TIAA from spending their $8 billion that they've been spending on these awful things, to divest from those things and be responsible. Thank you very much.
Okay, Bill. Yeah. All right. Who's next to speak? All right. Oh, you're speaking. Yeah.
So thanks to everybody who came out today. This is an amazing turnout. Good for you for coming out. Woo! We're still in the fourth surge, being socially distanced, safe, protected. And what we want to do is protect communities from the damage that they are doing to, that TIAA is doing to them. So we're going to talk about some of those specific communities. This event today is in solidarity with the Indigenous resistors of the Line 3 pipeline, which Enbridge is building in Minnesota. The Anishinaabe resistor, Tara Hauska, who's also a lawyer. She's been fighting this pipeline for years with her community, with allies, with water protectors. The last time that she was arrested, she was praying. And with other allied water protectors, they held off for 4 hours the construction of the pipeline. And when the police came to arrest her, she had one thing to say: this is our land. This is Anishinaabe land. This is unceded Anishinaabe land. How do the police come and arrest people on their own land? So it's an outrage. TIAA has $1 million at least invested in Enbridge, in index funds. They also have money invested directly in Enbridge. Time for TIAA to dump Enbridge.
Dump,
Dump Enbridge. Defund line 3.
dump Enbridge.
Right.
Please defund line 3.
But that is not the only. That's not the only community that's being devastated by TIAA. It's an Indigenous community. The Aboriginals in Australia are defending their land against TIAA's investment in Adani Group. Adani is building the biggest, notorious mega coal mine right now in Australia. And Aboriginal people are on the front lines day after day for years. They're doing bike tours. There's a huge fight against Adani Group's Carmichael coal mine. So stop Adani. TIAA has no business investing in Adani Group, but that's not all. TIAA also is invested in Chevron, which has devastated the Amazon. This is a lethal level of poison. The water is poisoned. People have had their communities ripped away from them. So dump Chevron. They have $5.4 million in Chevron. That is crazy. That's not all.
Dump Chevron.
But that's not all. They also invested in Valero. Valero is the company that is building the Byhalia pipeline through predominantly Black community in Memphis, Tennessee. This community is rising up with a strong resistance movement to stop the Byhalia pipeline. So TIAA should dump their investments in Valero.
Dump Valero.
So while you're at it, TIAA, dump all of your investments in all fossil fuel companies. So it's not just fossil fuels that are driving climate change. It's also deforestation. And TIAA is one of the 2 biggest owners of foreign land in Brazil. And in Brazil, there are land rights activists who are fighting for their lives. So Altamiro Ribeiro, he's a land rights activist in Brazil. And he explained that when the TIAA land grabs happen, these communities are losing their lands, losing their seeds, losing their livelihoods, their cultures and traditions. They can't collect medicines and food. This is genocide. This is completely unacceptable. So we have to stop the land grabs at the same time as we're stopping TIAA's divestments in fossil fuels. When these local communities in Brazil refuse to sell, and they do refuse to sell, the developers use very nasty methods, aggressive and lethal methods. They poison the water. They directly poison the water and find other ways to prevent the communities from getting access to their water. So water is life. And we are going to protect water, life, communities, fight environmental racism, and persuade TIAA to divest from all fossil fuels. Thank you for being here. What do we want? Divest. When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Divest.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Divest.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Divest.
When do we want it?
Now. What do we want? Divest. When do we want it?
Now. What do we want?
Divest.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Divest.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Divest.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Divest.
When do we want it?
Now.
Hey, TIAA, how much land did you grab today?
Hey, TIAA, how much land did you grab today? Hey, TIAA, how much land did you grab today? TIAA, how much land did you grab today? Hey, TIAA, how much land did you grab today? Okay, does Nancy want to? Nancy Roma? I don't think I have. I'm right. Oh, I thought this was the end. It's 20 after now.
I don't think I have very much else.
Just say a couple words.
Okay. I'm so glad to be here with my comrades who understand the importance of divesting from the most dangerous practices on the planet. Most of us are teachers. We are college professors, medical workers, and we work for the public good. We've almost all of us have been working our whole professional lives to make the world better. And unbeknownst to us, our retirement funds have been invested in fossil fuels, in land that has been taken, stolen from Indigenous peoples and from African Americans. And this is completely unacceptable. I think that most TIAA investors, that is people who will retire using TIAA, have absolutely no idea where their investments are going. And our goal is to inform and activate those TIAA members so they can be part of this divestment movement, to get our retirement funds out of holdings that will destabilize the planet, that will harm our communities, and will make a very grim future for our children, our grandchildren, and everyone's grandchildren going forward. So I really appreciate TIAA Divest organizing this and pulling us all together to fight for the changes we need. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome
we've got
action
a
on the
great
ground.
group in New York. If you want us to interview people, we can come back on. Just let me know. But
Sure.
it's been really amazing to see people out here. It's the first time we're out doing something, and people are very charged up. So thank you for including us.
Yes. Thank you for being out in the streets.
Let me know if you need us again, okay? Because there's plenty of people who want to say something.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from them. So line them up.
Yeah.
Do you want me to hang up now, or is it somebody else starting at 20 after, right?
Yeah, no, we're here for your action right now. So if there are folks that want to share more,
Okay.
we'd love to hear
All
from
right.
them.
I'm going to interview Delia Marks. She's a professor, retired. So here she is.
Hello.
Delia, thank you for coming today. Tell us why you're here.
Oh, I'm here because I want my money to be divested from fossil fuels. You know, I've been a professor for over 20 years. I saved my pension with TIA, and I'm very upset the way that TIA is using the money in ways that do not agree with the environment and with our future and the future of our children. This reminds me of a friend who had a very nice say. She said, you know, teachers are supposed to prepare the children for the future, but we are also need to prepare the future for our children.
Thank you so much. That is the best.
You.
Thank you very much,
So
Delia.
my name is Matt Meyer, and I have three things to say briefly about why I'm here. First, I'm the Secretary General of the International Peace Research Association. It's a global organization of professors. We have a large concentration of professors in the US, and we're the oldest and largest group of interdisciplinary professors of that nature. So we are very familiar with TIAA, and we stand with you here to say TIAA divest from climate destruction now. That was only one. Two, we realize that we're standing here in front of TIAA, but we also realize with a sense of deep history that we're standing here in the middle of Manhattan on the Nape land. And so, in solidarity with the land we're on, in solidarity with the Anishinaabe who are fighting Line 3, and in solidarity with all the people who are working for a clean environment, for the end of climate destruction, we say, your struggle is our struggle. I put on this shirt today that says, an injury to one is an injury to all, because we understand that climate destruction today is causing actual injury to actual people all the time. And we stand in solidarity and we say, divest now. And three, because my organization, the International Peace Research Association, is a peace group, we understand well the connections between peace and nonviolence and environmental destruction and conflict. And we know that in addition to waging war on Mother Earth, actual wars and actual conflicts are propagated by TIAAs and other investments in climate devastation. So we say, we stand with you, we love you, divest now, start off one of the chants. Hey, hey, ho, ho.
Fossil fuels have got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Fossil fuels have got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, fossil fuels have got to go. Okay. So thanks everybody so much for coming here today. It's great to see everybody. The fight against climate change happens on so many fronts, but today we're talking about two of the most important fronts, which is the front line, where people live, where people have their land violated, where they have their land poisoned. Like the indigenous people of this country, it's just another step in a 500-year-long genocide. And at this point, all of these corporations are pouring poison into their land as they always have. But we're also fighting the money pipeline, because we can go on fighting pipelines one at a time, one by one, and it won't end unless we stop the money pipeline, the money that's financing these efforts. And we have to join together, demand control over our financial power, our investment resources, and say that we will not allow these companies to use this money to continue to pour heat on a burning planet, to like gasoline on a fire. They keep pouring more and more money to make more and more profits on a land that they're killing for the future generations. So we've had enough. We have to stand up, and today we're going to go join other groups around the city that are fighting this fight. So JPMorgan Chase is another cause of this crisis. JPMorgan Chase has put $200 billion into the fossil fuel industry. BlackRock, which is the most financially powerful company in the world. It has $11 trillion in assets, and it is financing the climate change we're all living with in a multitude of ways. So today, at various locations, people are raising up this fight, and we are all going to go down to BlackRock at 51st Street between Park and Madison and join together, because we are all fighting this monster together. And then we will have an action there and move on to an action at Chase. So I hope everybody can join us at 12:30 to 12:45, meeting at BlackRock on 51st Street between Madison and Park. But we have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do, and we're glad that you're here and committed to continuing to work on this fight. And we will get this money out of TIAA and demand that we can invest in a livable world. When there's so many positive things you could invest in, why invest in chaos and destruction? We have to demand that we have control over our money and invest in a future we can believe in. So thank you, everybody, and we'll be in touch with more about how to work in support of divestment from TIAA.
So we're going to close out with a couple of closing chants. And before we do that, I'm sorry to interrupt. We'd love to get everyone's contact info so we can reach out to you again. Some people here are new or new to some of us. So we're passing this around. Please make sure to come up to me and get your info before you leave.
Thank you. That was fantastic.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Love
great.
seeing our crew out there in the street,
I
doing
know.
COVID safe actions. I think this was the first action that TIAA Divest has been able to do since the campaign launched. The campaign launched early in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And I know there were lots of plans last spring to get out in the streets. And this is the first time. So yeah, and we have Susan back. Thank you, Susan. Pass it over to you, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so exciting. I'm so glad to see everybody come together. So before I pass it on to Britton, I just wanted to mention that I'm really happy to be a student on the campaign. I joined the campaign in January, I believe, as a student leader, and I'm really happy to say that being a student, as well as being a part of the campaign and also a part of the movement with, other climate activists and other professors is amazing. And me and several other people on the campaign would love for, if you're interested, for other students to become involved. We're hoping to create a student network of students across different universities and college campuses who are also passionate about TIAA Divest and, climate change and environmental justice issues, to come together to potentially create a network that can be just as powerful, and also for us to create our own actions and to create other coalitions with professors and other divestment movements that are happening. So if you're interested and you're a student, please feel free to reach out either on the Facebook page. You can also contact me directly you can contact me directly as well at acrawford589@gmail.com. And you can also reach out directly to the website as well. But we are really hoping to see other students who are interested reach out, because it would be great to have even more students involved in a campaign that is already so strong and has so many great and inspirational people on the campaign. So yeah, and now I'm going to pass it on to Britton, who has helped everything come together, and I'm really happy to be co-hosting with you.
I'm happy to be coasting with you as well. And I'm really excited about the student network. We're at a moment in the campaign where, like you mentioned, we are making so much progress on organizing faculty who are the main participants of our clients of TIAA. But they keep telling us that they also need help and pressure from students on the campuses. Like, that's where the rubber meets the road. And so yeah, I'm super excited to work with you and Allie, who's going to be joining us soon from Cornell, on kind of getting a student network in place where, we can be hitting TIAA from all sides. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. And hopefully Allie at Cornell, who's organizing our satellite TIAA action in Ithaca this morning, will be joining us soon. But until she does, I wanted to talk a little bit more just about the issues and kind of why we're here. And we heard some really great speakers on the ground in New York City just now talking about, why we're here, which is mainly, solidarity with the Line 3 pipeline resistors in Minnesota. And we actually have my colleague Mariah, who is actually just in Minnesota, joining the front lines. And she's going to be here to talk about the defund Line 3 campaign and just a little bit more about, maybe, excuse me, maybe what it was like being there, with the Line 3 pipeline resistors. So anyway, we'll hear from Mariah in just a little bit here. So we're going to spend the next few minutes just talking about the issues. We'll hear from Allie on the ground, another live stream. And then we're going to do a sort of a teach-in for everyone, talking about the importance of shareholder season, which is where we are right now. We're in the midst of shareholder season. So I'm going to play actually an online teach-in that our friends at Climate Finance Action did for us last week. A great tool for the movement that I would love to share with you. And so we can all kind of skill up and understand exactly who are all the stakeholders in, climate finance, the climate finance world. We have asset managers and shareholders, and some of them are the same. So we're going to dig deeper into that and hopefully learn a few things. But first, I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I'm Britton Evans, and I am currently living in Rochester, New York, on occupied territory of the Haudenosaunee people in upstate New York. And I'm actually a third generation Floridian. And so I'm no stranger to natural disasters. And that's part of my story and why I'm here. My grandfather's home and my childhood home was actually leveled by Hurricane Charlie back in, what was that, 2004. And it was a traumatic experience for my entire family, especially for my grandparents. They lived in their home for 40 years. And I remember in 2004 pulling up to that house after the hurricane, and it was gutted. And, you know, my grandfather was wandering around outside with blood on his shirt, and, you know, and we ended up losing him shortly thereafter because the trauma of that experience. And so that was early on, before I got involved in activism, but that was really what lit my fire. I just became so angry that we were doing nothing to stop the climate crisis, and knowing that drilling for fossil fuels and burning fossil fuels was literally, like Molly just said, just like adding gasoline to the fire. And there are so many people that, you know, are one natural disaster away from losing everything. And I get chills right now just even thinking about it, because my mother is in Florida, and she lives in a mobile home, and she's one of those people is one natural disaster away, you know, from losing everything. And it's something that we live with on a year. It's a perennial threat for us. And, you know, the same banks that refuse to insure my mother's home are the same banks and insurance companies that are pumping trillions of dollars into the fossil fuel industry at a time when we need to stop burning fossil fuels, and we need to stop pulling fossil fuels out of the ground, and we need to protect people's rights. It's not just a climate issue, it's a human rights issue as well. So yeah, that's a little bit why I'm here. I'm an organizer with Friends of the Earth, and my passion is, you know, stopping the climate crisis. And so those are a little bit, you know, of some of the issues. But, you know, as we know that there are two centers of power in this country, and those are Washington and Wall Street. I would like to add a third, people power. We are a huge center of power when we're organized. But as far as Wall Street is concerned, you know, we're going after them with one simple demand, that the banks, the insurance companies, the asset managers, and the institutional investors stop funding, stop insuring and investing in climate destruction. And that is what TIAA Divest stands for as well. And that means, you know, ending all financing for fossil fuels. We are calling for, at TIAA Divest, we're calling for an immediate moratorium on fossil fuel investments, and immediately pulling out investments in the Cricket Valley Energy Center, which is a massive fracked gas plant that Bill on the ground just highlighted that is 20 minutes away from his home. So we want TIAA to divest from Cricket Valley fracked gas plant, especially for a company like TIAA, who espouses themselves as a responsible investor. That is their front-facing image, and we know that behind the scenes that's not the case. They are funding companies like Enbridge building the Line 3 pipeline. They are funding companies like Valero, like Iris mentioned, building the Byhalia pipeline going through Memphis, Tennessee. They fund Formosa Plastics, which is a massive petrochemical company that is perpetuating like environmental racism in Louisiana, in what's known as Cancer Alley, and damaging communities and culture in that area. So we need to divest from all of those companies that are driving climate destruction and are harming people. And so, yeah, I don't know if I think Ali should be joining us in just a moment, hopefully. And just so y'all know, we're kind of throwing this all together last minute. So expect some technical glitches, but we're gonna roll with the punches. This is not the first time that we've done a live stream like this, but you never really know kind of what to expect. So hopefully we get to hear from Ali. And I don't know if Alex, if you can possibly text Ali just to get an update behind the scenes, that would be super helpful. So yeah, so the main issues that we're talking about are fossil fuels. We also are very concerned about the impacts of deforestation, both on the climate and on people. And in kind of the same vein, land grabbing is a huge issue. TIAA is a major owner of one of the biggest landowners in Brazil. Not a lot of people know that or realize that, especially from a company like TIAA that wants to be a responsible investor. I'm going to pause because I would love for us to take a break really quick and circle up with Ali. We're going to do a social media zap, an action zap. So I'm going to put up a screen for us here. What we're going to do is take a minute to contact TIAA on social media. And we want to tag TIAA on Twitter or Facebook, and their handles are really easy. It's just at TIAA, and let them know kind of that you want them to. You can use our sample message up on the screen here, but TIAA needs to divest from fossil fuels and Indigenous rights violations. It's enough of talking the talk without walking the walk. That's one of the main issues with TIAA, is that they're disingenuous in their branding of being environmentally and socially responsible investors. So I'm going to put on some music. Hopefully that comes through as well for you to listen to while you take some action on TIAA. We're going to circle up on our end while you do that and get in touch with our live streamer on the ground in Ithaca. And then we'll move on to the BlackRock action that is happening shortly in New York City.
Thank you.
So I'm going to play a little over 10 minutes of this, and then I'm going to pass it over to Mariah Lauer with Friends of the Earth Action to talk about the defund line 3, which will be a great primer for getting ready for this continuous action today, moving on to BlackRock. But in the meantime, enjoy this clip of the Wow and How of Shareholder Season, a guide for activists from our friends at Climate Finance Action and Stop the Money Pipeline.
Shareholders have so much power to transform company behavior, and there are so many opportunities this shareholder season to exercise that power on scale, all of which will be more powerful with grassroots energy behind it. And with that, Mary, I turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Eli. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I hear Eli, I get so pumped up. So we got the big picture. Now let's look at the basics with 2 fundamental questions. While I'm talking, you'll see Sarah from Ink Factory creating visual notes. They will be synthesizing our words into images and texts. We are so fortunate to have her here with us for this webinar. So the 2 questions: what is a shareholder and what is shareholder season? Let's set the stage. We are talking about public companies that are causing harm to the planet and human rights abuses. While many private companies are owned by individuals, public companies are owned mostly by stockholders or shareholders. Shareholders are investors. So take just a couple seconds, and in the chat, please let us know what comes to mind when you think of the word investor. Don't be shy, just put those things in the chat. Someone big and rich, come on, Wall Street, yeah, money, banks, stockbroker, my dad. Yeah, look at all these. You're totally right. And there's other ones too. There's huge shareholders as well that we'll look at later. So these shareholders own shares in a public company, meaning they invest in a company, and so they own part of that company, and they get a share of the profit. All public companies have to follow certain rules, And one of those rules is that they are required to have an annual meeting of their shareholders. Most companies have these meetings in the spring. Shareholder season is a concentrated time when shareholders make big decisions about big business. The media is watching, socially responsible investing firms are watching, and corporations are really paying attention this year. Shareholder season is a huge opportunity for us to demand that the biggest shareholders stop siding with corporate executives and act on climate justice. So today we're talking about the largest shareholders that have outsized investor power. Some of the truly huge shareholders are asset management companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and Fidelity. Some are pension funds that are made up of workers' retirement savings. If you know a teacher, state or municipal worker, or union member, those are the folks that are dependent upon the state's retirement fund. Asset managers and pension funds vote on behalf of the people and organizations whose money they manage. These big shareholders have a lot of power over how companies are run and what they do. We're forcing change on fossil fuel companies like Exxon, utilities that are selling us dirty energy like Duke, and banks like JPMorgan Chase and Wells Fargo that fund fossil fuel and deforestation companies, as well as food companies that are at the root of deforestation and human rights abuses like Bung. We know that our elected officials are accountable to us as their constituents. Similarly, companies answer to their shareholders. Just like we can vote for our elected officials out of office, shareholders can vote corporate directors out of power. And just like there are ballot initiatives that we all vote on, shareholders can vote for important company actions like climate, political lobbying, and equity issues. So annual company meetings are the time when shareholders weigh in on how a company does business by voting for or against changes. When we vote for our representatives, nobody knows who we vote for. But here's the opportunity. When big shareholders vote, it's public. Shareholder season is a big opportunity for us. Key decisions are made now. And now people are watching because climate, racial justice, and diversity have been called out as big financial risks. Business as usual is over. We are demanding the change the world needs. Shareholders must vote for climate justice. Shareholders must stop rubber stamping directors of companies who have done nothing on climate and justice for decades. We will make them walk their talk. Shareholders need a good, strong push. They have a seat at the table, but haven't used it the right way. Now is the time to escalate. And
Right. So that was from our friends at Climate Finance Action. And now we have Ali joining us on the ground from Ithaca for their TIAA Action. Hey, Ali, can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Britton. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
So we are at the TIAA Divest, or the TIAA Bank on the Commons in Ithaca. And we are here with some Cornell students who are asking or demanding that TIAA divest from fossil fuels. So we've got Emma. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a junior at Cornell. I'm studying environmental social science and super passionate about climate action and climate justice. So glad to be here.
Then we've got Grace.
Hi, I'm a sophomore. I'm studying physics, and I just think this is a really important cause, and I'm glad that we're out here doing something about it.
And then we've got Arden, who is working on our chalking. Do you want to introduce yourself, Arden?
Sure. Hi, I'm Arden. I'm a plant science sophomore, and yeah, I also just think that this is a really important cause to focus on.
Which is very true. And I am a sophomore at Cornell. I'm a global and public health sciences major. And yeah, I take classes where I'm taught how to address the climate crisis, and simultaneously my professors' pension funds are getting invested in the cause of that crisis. So that's why I'm out here. We also have a sign, another little chalk drawing over here, which we can show you guys, which is right outside of the TIAA bank. We're telling them to stop climate destruction, stop destroying our future, and to invest in things that are a bit more renewable and better for everyone. And then if we're ready, we all have a chant. And we also have music playing right now. Do you want to pause it for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so are we all ready? Yes. For our chant? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, hey, ho,
Love
ho.
it.
Fossil fuels have got to go.
Awesome. Cool. So it was great.
Kristen.
Super glad that y'all have that that action going on. Is there anyone at TIAA right now? Have you been, or are you talking to any passerbys?
No, so currently it says this office is temporarily closed, so they are not in right now, but people have been passing by and we've been telling them about TIAA and why they need to divest.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about
Would you be
the
interested in talking for a second?
Totally.
Okay, we have some passersby right now.
awesome?
So give us a second. So you're high schoolers. Okay, can you introduce yourselves?
I'm Kaden.
Hello. So we are currently protesting because this TIAA is a really big bank. They have over $1.1 trillion in assets, and they have currently over $8 billion invested in fossil fuels. No, 8 billion. And then they have 700 million invested in agriculture practices that are tied to deforestation and human rights violations. And they call themselves socially responsible investors. And they're really proud of that reputation.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of that?
Fuck that. I did a presentation on Wednesday actually at a watershed symposium about the agro subsidies.
Yeah.
The cycle of corn syrup and
That's okay.
Roundup.
Yeah.
Glyphosate. About the I'm not doing a good job of explaining it right now.
That's okay.
It's fucked. These companies are getting paid to use. These companies are using Monsanto products. By using that, they lobby the government to give subsidies to farmers to use Roundup. The farmers use it, they profit. The corporations profit, so they have more to invest, more to lobby.
Yeah.
And so on. It's just a cycle. It's fucked.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly fucked. But there is hope for an actual sustainable future.
Mm-hmm. And do you think TIAA should be a part of that sustainable future?
No, fuck that.
Yes, they should. Yes, they should. That's okay.
Of course.
Ollie,
Yeah.
it'd be awesome if you could talk about the Cornell resolution that was just passed.
Yes, sure. So I'll walk over here. So Cornell University, we passed a resolution 2 weeks ago, I believe, where we were, or basically it demanded that TIAA divest from fossil fuels and from climate destruction, which is really powerful because basically all staff and professors at Cornell University, they have the choice to either invest their pension fund or their retirement plan fund into TIAA or Fidelity. And Fidelity is no poster child, but that means that a significant proportion of the professors and staff at Cornell, which is, an Ivy that is extraordinarily passionate about the climate crisis and trying to be a part of the sustainable movement, that their pension funds and their investments are going towards causing that issue. And that's something that I've spoken to professors who, one of them taught a climate solutions class she had her money invested in TIAA, and she had no idea that they were invested in fossil fuels and in agricultural businesses that are associated with deforestation and the displacement of Indigenous peoples. And so that's why we're out here. It's really important for people to know about it. That's the first step. And then to just pressure TIAA, you know, don't call yourself socially responsible if you're not.
Hell yeah. Yes. I love it. Yay. I'm so glad that y'all are out there. How long are you planning on staying?
Probably until at least 12:30. We're gonna do probably some more signs. We're gonna do some face paint, continue shocking, and then we're gonna do a little dance, but it'll probably be a recorded video that we'll send to you guys.
Awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
Well, stay on if you can. If you want to turn off your video or your mute, we're going to pass it over to Mariah, who's going to do a quick educational segment on defund Line 3. Mariah was just in Minnesota, actually supporting the Line 3 resistors, pipeline resistors. So I'm sure she has a lot to share, but we want to come back to you if you have more stuff going on. We'd love to see some of the face painting or anything else that you want to show us. So yay.
Awesome. We will be online, but mic's muted and video off.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Hi, Brandon.
Great. Take it away, Mariah. Thank you so much for being here to talk about the Defund Line 3 campaign.
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, I want to say thank you to all the folks who are on the ground taking action today. Y'all are amazing, really showing up and being in that kind of solidarity. My name is Mariah. I am an organizer with Friends of the Earth Action. I currently reside on the occupied lands of the Ute, Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Apache peoples, otherwise known as Colorado. And yeah, first of all, I want to express my gratitude for even having been able to show up and join the front lines in Minnesota. I met some incredible people there. I learned so much. It was a really transformational experience for me. And so I'm so grateful to the Indigenous peoples there who allowed, especially, a white person like myself, to kind of enter that space and, try to be as much of an act as an ally. And so, just a little bit, a lot of people have talked about Line 3, but I just thought, it never hurts to have more background on what Line 3 is. So, Enbridge's Line 3 pipeline is a pipeline that is going to coming from the tar sands in Alberta, running all the way to Superior, Wisconsin. It will transport almost 800,000 barrels of crude oil every day. And while it's being called a replacement pipeline, the reality is it's an expansion pipeline. So it will transfer a lot more tar sands than are already being transferred by the existing pipeline. And really importantly, it's taking a completely different route. So Enbridge has no plans to leave or to actually remove the existing pipeline. So it's, it will continue to sit there, erode, and, has real danger of jeopardizing, wetlands, rivers, and the lands of the Anishinaabe people in Minnesota. It will, the new path is supposed to cut through, the headwaters of the Mississippi River. And this is just, these are the waters that supply a huge population of the United States. Incredibly dangerous. And the new pipeline route will endanger 800 wetlands and 200 different waterways. It will also, at this time, a lot of people have said this is a time that our climate cannot afford it. And the pipeline will have as much impact as 50 new coal-fired power plants. 2050, which is absolutely absurd. And so, you know, a lot of these things have been talked about, you know, the climate impacts of this project, and as well as, you know, the impacts it's having on Indigenous peoples. As Britton mentioned before, it will jeopardize the wild rice beds that are sacred to the Anishinaabe people. Wild rice was something I was really lucky enough to get to experience and be nourished by when I was in Minnesota. But it's, you know, still the importance of it to Anishinaabe peoples is something that's, you know, I still don't haven't fully wrapped my brain around, but it is so sacred to their culture. And you know, ultimately this pipeline does not have the free, prior, and informed consent that is required to be building these kinds of projects through Indigenous lands. You know, there are legal challenges from a variety of different nations, including the Red Lake Nation, the White Earth Band of Ojibwe, the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. So there should not be any kind of, you know, misunderstanding about this actually having the consent of the Indigenous peoples who will be impacted by it. So yeah, okay, as far as who is, you know, who's funding this, you know, a lot of people are showing up today. So kind of, we're seeing these like really bad financial institutions who are, you know, just kind of known as being horrible, having really bad investments in fossil fuels and deforestation, and human rights abuses. And they are also funding Enbridge. So some of those include JPMorgan Chase, which no surprise there, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and TD Bank. And a lot of them have tried to sort of explain this, that they're not directly funding Line 3, that they're just financing Enbridge. But we all know that is, quite frankly, bullshit. If they are, like, Enbridge is a pipeline company. That's their whole business model. And so these institutions are directly responsible for financing the Line 3 pipeline and its resulting impacts on the climate and on Indigenous peoples. And yeah, you know, a lot of this has been really talked about, the specifics of the, you know, the financing, the loans that they are providing, the credit. So one thing I really I wanted to bring up, because it's super important, and especially in this time, it feels incredibly important to talk about, is how Enbridge is actually, and then also through that thread, these financial institutions are also responsible for it. But Enbridge is actually financing an incredible amount of police oppression, especially of the Indigenous water protectors in Minnesota. And this was something I witnessed, you know, I caught a glimpse of, and how they are particularly going after the Indigenous women and femmes who are leading the resistance, people like Tara Hauska, who have been at the front line of this fight for years. So how is this actually happening? So Enbridge has actually, and this was found out by Emily Atkin, who's a climate journalist, and she found that there is a ethically dubious, best way to put it, ethically dubious financial relationship that has been created between Minnesota law enforcement and Enbridge since the Line 3 pipeline route permit was approved. So essentially, the permit says that Enbridge is responsible for paying police for any pipeline-related public safety activity. And this is to be done, you know, it's been set up as a thing to, you know, avoid burdening taxpayers with the costs of it. But the reality is it has incentivized to a massive degree police oppression of any sort of, you know, resistance to the Line 3 pipeline, which, as somebody mentioned earlier, is happening on Anishinaabe lands. Like, they are literally being policed and harassed on lands that they are completely entitled to be on. So, yeah, essentially this means that different county sheriff's departments are getting reimbursed in short periods of time, hundreds of thousands of dollars, for, that is going into police overtime, all kinds of different new equipment. And this is at a time police departments have been, kind of underfunded. They've suffered under COVID. So now they have a lot of reason to really, intimidate and harass any kind of pipeline protesters, water protectors, as much as possible, because then they are going to get those funds back to help keep these sheriff's departments afloat. And it's gotten to the point that counties who are not even on the route are helping to monitor Line 3 activity. So, with this information, it's like Enbridge is funding police oppression, and that means that these financial institutions are financing police oppression as well. They are just as responsible for it by doing so. And like I said, it's something I really saw. I mean, we were repeatedly followed by the police. Any reason that they have to pull you over, give you a ticket, like a simple traffic violation, like having something hanging from your rear view mirror, is you have to be kind of constantly on alert to make sure you are not giving them any cause. But the burden of this is really falling on the Indigenous women who are leading the resistance. And in addition to climate impacts, one other thing that I think is, super important to bring up is, it's talked a lot about how the ties between fossil fuel extraction and murdered and missing Indigenous women and people. And this is also something that is happening in, it's not abstract, it's happening in real time. It's directly connected to Line 3. There were a number of Enbridge workers who were found to be a part of a sex trafficking ring. And so it's something, talked about how often Indigenous women and girls tend to go missing in these places where there are, large numbers of typically white men coming onto Indigenous lands for these, to work on these pipelines or fossil fuel projects. And it's actually happened. It's been proven to happen. And so that's also something, like, by financing Enbridge, these, Chase and BlackRock and all these institutions are also helping finance the violence, the physical violence that is happening against Indigenous peoples, from both, the sexual violence that's happening against Indigenous women, and the police oppression and the extreme and incredibly enraging treatment that is happening to the water protectors. So it's like they really are funding climate change, they are funding police oppression, and they are funding, they are essentially helping fund more murdered and missing Indigenous women. So that's kind of all I have. If there's definitely, tons of people who've done the exact, information about how much loans have been happening, or, how much loans have been financed to Enbridge by these different institutions, by people much smarter than me. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to really focus on those ties, because it's not something that is being really talked about enough. And in this moment in time, it is incredibly important to really be giving that focus. So I believe that next up there should be a video with a message from Indigenous peoples directly to BlackRock, which is super powerful. Always want to hear and amplify those voices. So unless it's switching to an action, I think that's what's coming up next. And thank you everybody who's out there standing in solidarity today. We have to keep fighting. If you can't go join the front lines, that's okay, because we all have these financial institutions most likely in the places we live, and we can go take action fight to defund line 3, because if we can, pull that financing, pull that funding for it, we can stop this pipeline and help protect the Anishinaabe people. So
thank you so much, Mariah. I'm going to check in with Allie really quick to see if she's got anything else to share with us. Allie, I'm not sure if you can hear us. I know you've got some face painting going on the ground. Oh, and we're joined by Molly. Yay. So it is 12:30 now, which is when the BlackRock, the All Eyes on BlackRock action is scheduled to get started. So Molly is on the ground just joining us, and we'll pass it over to Molly shortly. But so, today, this is not just a TIAA Divest action, but this is All Eyes on BlackRock. There's been actions happening all over the world, from London to Zurich to San Francisco. People have been showing up in solidarity with the Line 3 pipeline resistors. And it's been really powerful to see. And the action today is going to be awesome. And we're also looking forward to May 7th, which is going to be the global day of action to defund Line 3. So May 7th, mark your calendars. We're showing up to bank branches across the country and across the world with international partners. And we're telling banks like JPMorgan Chase and asset managers like BlackRock and TIAA to divest from and defund the Line 3 pipeline for all of the reasons that we've been talking about today. So today we are joined by our friends at New York Communities for Change, 350 NYC, Rise and Resist, BlackRock's Big Problem. They're all holding down this action that is just getting started right now at the BlackRock headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. So there's lots of action that is going to be taking place over the next half hour. And then the action will continue with a march to JPMorgan Chase. There's a new Chase construction site that is happening in Manhattan, 47th Street between Madison and Park. And so folks are going to be marching from BlackRock over to JPMorgan Chase after that. So we're going to try to live stream as much of that as we possibly can. What's going on in the ground there?
Hey,
oh wow, you got face
I didn't
painting.
know if you could see me or not. So as you can see, we've done some face painting. We're telling TIAA to divest. These are supposed to be flames.
I love it.
And so, yes, we continued to chalk. We had some people walk by, including some business owners, and we talked to them about it. And so if we all want to come over here, we also have all written something on our hands, which I think I'm gonna have to pass it to Grace so that she can hold it.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
or you're gonna do it with your other hand.
I have to flip it.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. So
Yeah, guys.
we've got all of us, and on our hands we've written divest.
Woo! I love it.
If we add Grace's hand,
We've got a little TIAA.
we want TIAA to divest.
There we go.
I love it. Hang on, I'm taking a picture. Even if it's on the computer, it's still awesome. Thanks y'all for being out there.
Sorry for
And
the
it's a
shaky
beautiful
camera.
day.
Yeah.
Yay.
So we're fighting to preserve more days like this.
Well, thank you so much, y'all, for being out there. Hopefully this is just the beginning. And don't forget to let everyone know, Allie, about the TIAA Divest Student Network that we're going to get started soon. Alex was on earlier to introduce that, and we're all really excited about it.
Sounds good. And then I think we're going to probably sign off. So I'm going to try to recruit Arden and Emma for a second.
Great.
In front of our sign with our chalk that says divest. Yeah, Grace, get in on here. And then we're just going to say TIAA divest. 1, 2, 3. TIAA divest.
Woo! Thanks, y'all. You're amazing.
Thanks, Burden.
See you soon.
Here in New York City, there's a consortium of organizations that are out here that organize this event today and are fighting for a livable future, for a fair and more sustainable future. Those include New York Communities for Change. Those include 350 Brooklyn. 350 LIC. XR, New York City, Official Rebellion. This is what it takes. All of our groups and organizations, local, state, national, global, coming together to use our people power, to use the resources that we have to fight back against these massive corporations that are destroying the planet and destroying our community. Now, there are two particularly notorious corporations who are leading the pack, and those include BlackRock. Massive asset manager, $9 trillion that it manages and chooses to drop billions into fossil fuels. And number two, a leading bank, JPMorgan Chase. Which we'll talk about more in a minute. But if we can get these massive asset managers, these massive banks, and these massive insurers to start investing in, financing, and insuring pipelines and power plants that pollute, then we can begin to stop this money pipeline and move to livable future. So last thing before we have an activist and Larry Jenkins Trump, China, before they tell us more about the issue of BlackRock, let's just be clear that it is these financial investments that are fueling the increased jobs in Central America because of BlackRock and JPMorgan Chase and other climate financiers. The dwindling Amazon farm is also fueled by the money from BlackRock and JPMorgan Chase and other climate financiers. The record-breaking wildfires in California are fueled by BlackRock, say with me, BlackRock, and JPMorgan Chase, and these other climate financiers. The Asthma Alley in Queens to the Cancer Alley in Louisiana is fueled by, say with me, BlackRock, JPMorgan Chase,
JPMorgan
and
Chase.
other climate financiers. The displacement of villagers in Bangladesh as their fields and their farms are flooded by seawater is a result of the funds of BlackRock. Say with me now, BlackRock, and JPMorgan Chase, and the other climate financiers. No more excuses. All eyes are on BlackRock. The world is watching, and we are out of time. So Larry thinks it's time to step up. Unfortunately, he's been giving us some excuses, and now an activist, Xi Yang, an Indigenous youth climate leader, and also Larry Fink impersonator, Pete, are going to. See you. I want you to know I share your concerns. I share your concerns. Oh, you know.
Do the right thing, Larry.
Ooh, Larry.
Gotta get our bullhorns.
It's a very cheap bullhorn for such a company as mine. How come activists never test bullhorns before events? Who's running this operation? Okay. You want to take this one? Okay. Yeah, I'll screw. I'm gonna screw. Here, why are you come this way? I'll screw.
I have to find it.
Well, look who it is! The CEO of BlackRock himself, Larry Fink. It's the man.
it's about time we caught up. I know, we've been meaning to catch up for about 3 years now.
Sure.
We've been talking about
Yeah.
this.
Great to meet you too. And yes, we've been waiting to meet with you for 3 years.
Yes, I know. I walked past one of your little events here a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. You yelled at me as I went in. Welcome, everyone.
Well, Mr. Fink, we are here because BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager. You know you have $9 trillion invested.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we're very, very pleased that our many excellent investment options are so attractive to me. Oh, I hear you. I hear your concern. We've made very clear that managing the risks of climate change is vital to our business and all of the companies that we invest in. Yeah, we share your concerns. You know, the best companies will manage these risks. We've already ended many investments in coal companies, and we're engaging with all of our companies to make sure that they manage climate risks.
Well, wait a minute, Mr. Fink. BlackRock still has about $85 billion invested in coal companies. You only divested from 17% of the coal industry. You also have $79 billion invested in tar sand companies.
Well, you know, yes, as I was saying, every day, we're engaging with all of our companies that we own to help them become better companies. We tell them that they need to disclose their climate risks. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I've been talking so much about the Task Force for Climate-Related Finance Disclosure, TCFD, that they almost decided to name it after me. Disclosure, free markets, information for everyone. That's what I'm all about. That's what BlackRock is all about.
Disclosure doesn't do anything on its own. We know that Exxon is destroying the planet, yet BlackRock keeps pouring money into it. I want to talk to you about Line 3. This is the dirty tar sand pipeline project being disputed in Minnesota as we speak. The old Line 3 has been left to corrode on the ground, contaminating water, soil, and our community's health. The new Line 3 project is destroying Indigenous people's land. If it's built, it will perpetuate the usage of an industry that is killing the planet. And most likely it will spill, creating severe environmental damage. You are funding tar sand. BlackRock owns Enbridge, which is building Line 3 and other pipelines. What are you gonna do about that?
And I want you to know that we share your concerns. We see your concerns. Climate change is a vital risk for all corporations, and that's why we share your concerns, and that's why I keep saying that sustainability is at the center of our business.
Bullshit. Those are just words. It's your money that matters, your billions of dollars that matter. You know what they say? Talk is cheap.
Well, yes, I know, Shia, you're very precocious for your age. I know you're very smart, very articulate. I used to say that around the office myself, that talk is cheap when I was a younger person. Did I mention, though, that we are backing TCFD? Did I mention that we're engaging with those companies?
Yes, you did mention it. But Mr. Singh, you cannot just talk about BlackRock's responsibility. BlackRock has the worst climate voting record of any large asset manager. All of our eyes are on you. We need you to vote your shares for climate justice. Corporate shareholder voting season starts now. We need BlackRock to vote against boards of directors at the companies you own that are not clean
That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you very much for your time, CA. You know, I think I see why my staff did not set up this meeting before, but you know, time is running here, and remember, TCFD disclosure, markets with information or the
Bullshit.
TCFD.
Bullshit.
We all, really care about this issue a great deal. And, Larry Fink, he is one of the most important people on Wall Street. This company controls $9 trillion. They control about 10% of large major corporations. They're the single biggest investor in the world. They're the biggest owner of everything. And if they started to change their practices, and they've started to tweak things a little bit here and there, but that won't work. All eyes are on BlackRock right now. They need to vote the way that they should in shareholder season. They need to move the money out of fossil fuels and forest destruction and into other stuff. And that's what we're here to say. So thank you again, everyone, for coming out.
That's right.
Well, thank you everyone for being here today. I just want to remind all of you that Indigenous peoples are on the front line of stopping line 3, and we need to take that into consideration and support our brothers and sisters on the front line. This is not only going to harm my generation in the future, it's already harmed our community today. The climate crisis is about today, not tomorrow, not the day after. And companies like BlackRock need to take responsibility because they create their own loopholes. They are cheating on themselves, and we are going to hold them accountable.
Thanks so much for that great performance, Larry Fink and CA. Oh, gosh. Okay, so we are going to wrap up at this location, but before folks move, we are going to make sure that the photographer can get some iconic photos of this location. So we're going to listen to Eric's instructions to make sure we get photos and we can blast it to the world to complement all the other actions that have been happening.
Thank you, Molly, for sharing the live stream with us.
Thank you. Here we are in New York City. We were just in BlackRock, and now we are marching down Avenue, a center of wealth and finance known throughout the world. We have a lot of great organizations here. We have Extinction Rebellion. We have Rise and Resist. We have people that have been working on Chase, trying to get Jamie Dimon, who gives about $200 billion to the fossil fuel industry for investment. And these are a number of activists all working together to bring their demands to Chase. So we are just moving down the street together, and there's a lot of great energy here.
Awesome, we're watching.
Okay, so it's a little hard to interview somebody. I'll try, but it's kind of loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're on our way to a Chase
stop their action, to literally stop their action. And that's what we're trying to do here today. And
Awesome. Thanks for being there.
well, before the action at BlackRock, there were actions at Chase branches where people got a very positive reception from customers that have no idea what Chase is investing in. Chase is on every street corner in Manhattan practically, and they're usually on the corner because the corner is the best real estate because you get the most sign value. And here you see a beautiful sign about line 3 that has been the focus of today's action, a demand to defund line 3.
That's great. Are there any other banners or signs that you could show us, or any other visuals? Just walk us around.
Let's see, can you see this?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful sign for line 3. Different people, New York City's police officers are giving us an escort. And they're keeping us company, keeping themselves close. You can see some wild artwork through the window here of 280 Park. But it's really the center of finance in the city. Can I ask you a few questions?
Not me, I'm not a good talker.
Okay.
Ask her, right?
Can I ask you a few questions? Sure. Okay, so we're just here on a live stream about today's actions. Can you tell us why you're here today?
There are many banks that are investing in fossil fuels, and we object to the damage that they're doing to Indigenous people and to land that is being destroyed by their pipelines. So we are objecting to the bank's policies and demand that they change their policies and stop investing in fossil fuels.
That's wonderful to hear. Were you at an action before this action today?
No.
Okay.
There was another one for TIAA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. And that was great. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And what group are you with?
Rise and Resist.
Okay. Thank you. Can you just tell us a little bit about Rise and Resist?
Rise and Resist was founded in reaction to the 2016 election and objecting to everything that the previous administration did. Now that we have a new administration, there are other and ongoing concerns. We don't, and climate, that we are in a climate emergency that is beginning to be recognized, and the Biden administration has made it a priority, and that's incredible. And we have a lot of work to do.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Okay, Brittany, it's getting loud again here.
That's totally fine. We're loving watching the action. It kind of feels like we're there.
That's great. So the plan is that we are going to have certain people that are going to block the entrances because, of course, one of these headquarter buildings is a full square block. So there are about 6 different entrances. So we're going to have people blocking at each entrance. And then we're going to have supporters marching around the building.
Wow.
So you see the construction here?
Yep.
Okay, so here you see Chase's current headquarters. Can you see that straight ahead?
Yep.
And then this is a kind of classically amazing New York gigantic construction site.
Wow. That's I love the location that they're choosing to hold this action, because Chase is such a massive company and corporation and clearly completely loaded, and really sucks that they're making that money off of Indigenous people's rights violations.
Absolutely.
Wow, there's so many people.
Funding pipeline 3.
Hey, Molly, is Nancy nearby you?
Let me see. Let me try to find her. Nancy Romer. Hi. Do you want me to try to interview somebody? How is
Yeah, I
the
would
sound?
love to interview Nancy.
Okay. So, Nancy, can you tell us about why you're here today?
Yeah, because we are dealing with climate destruction. A lot of people who save money and try to invest it in something that they feel will allow them and their families to live decent lives. Where all of our money gets used for climate destruction, for investing in Line 3, investing in tar sands, investing in all the other pipelines that are going to make the future horrible for future generations and immediately now. So we want to make sure that the money we save, our retirement money, or any money that we might be able to save from our paycheck and put in some kind of investment, is made to advance the planet, not to decrease the future for future generations. So I'm happy to be part of this, and it's part of a very large movement to get finance in line with a future that's habitable for the planet.
Chase, a company which is dumping hundreds of billions of dollars to fuel the climate emergency, the climate crisis. And we're calling on Chase to stop funding Line 3, the tar sands pipeline, to stop funding all tar sands, and then to completely move off of funding for fossil fuels. Our beef is not with the workers. Our beef is not with these workers. Our beef is with the multi-billion-dollar decision makers that run Chase and who are choosing to run the planet into the ground.
That's
and we
right.
have no problems with the hard workers doing construction on this site.
That's right.
And we support good green jobs. And so people have the context. Here's the JPMorgan Chase headquarters. And here, JPMorgan Chase is raising an old building to build a new one. So we are now gonna march around the block. We're gonna stay on the sidewalks as we march around this construction site. And we're gonna see things on the way, some of our comrades. All right. So we're gonna hop on the sidewalk.
Okay, Molly. I think we're gonna leave you here with our live stream, and good luck with the action, and keep us posted if there's another opportunity to show some action on the ground.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly.
All right.
Great. Well, this was really awesome to see, and love, being able to feel like we're on the ground with everyone, even though some of us can't be because there's still lots of COVID concerns. But I'm super grateful for the folks that are able to be out in the streets, and major props to our friends at New York Communities for Change, 350 NYC, Rise and Resist, TIAA Divest, XR, all of our friends that are leading the movement to get financial institutions to divest from fossil fuels and egregious human rights violations. We'll see you next time at the next action. And thanks everyone for hopping on and joining us. Let's bankrupt Line 3.